Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Let's Go Racing Motorsports Report. I am Mike Babicz, your host and the voice of the Wilmot Raceway and other area racing from time to time. And we certainly want to thank all of our fine marketing partners. John Hedderline, attorney at law, Force One Performance, B&L Office Furniture, Great Lakes Dragaway, Steve Sinclair and the Bumper to Bumper IRA Outlaw Sprint Cars, Wilmot Raceway, who is taking a week off this week, but is actually practicing as we speak. Practice is going on at Wilmot Raceway right now and will be going on till about dusk. So if any of our drivers out there forgot about practice or want to get a few laps in, head on out to Wilmot Raceway and you can practice tonight. It's starting as we speak and will be going until just about dusk. Also, Fox Lake Harbor, the Richmond Hunt Club, Midwest Motor Coach and Olson Transportation, MLS Auto Clinic, Eddie and Debbie Boyd, and of course, Bodycraft, Mark and Tony Maglio, Buddies in McHenry on Green Street. We're going to still head out there. We keep wanting you to watch because we're going to head out there sooner or later. Impressions count. They help us out with our signage. We certainly do appreciate that. We Be Waxin'. Also, Culver's of Paddock Lake. Coming up July 27th. Is going to be a car show. It's going to actually be at Hartnell Chevrolet, just a little bit south of Culver's, and Culver's is also going to be participating. And on August the 3rd, Culver's is going to be involved with the Wilmot Raceway Candy Drop. So keep an eye out for more information on that. A-Main Apparel and Diecast. We very much thank the Tennyson family for all their support. Lake County Honor Flight, Stars and Stripes Honor Flights, and NICASA, the Northern Illinois Council on Alcoholism and Substance Abuse. They're going to have a pickleball tournament coming up on, I believe it's Sunday, August the 25th. We'll get you more information on that, and you can also go to NICASA's website for more information. 5-Star Race Car Bodies. Hey, they're always looking for somebody to go to work in the automotive field and get involved in racing. They do a lot for NASCAR. They do a lot for the World of Outlaw late models. And I found out they do a lot for Jeep on your street vehicles. So next week, 1 week from tonight, the plan is that we will be at 5-Star Race Car Bodies in their lobby, and watch out for that. And we want to thank Daniel Sanchez and Carl Schultz and everybody at 5-Star that's working with us on making that happen. So 1 week from tonight, 6 to 7 o'clock, we plan to be at 5-Star Race Car Bodies, coming to you live with the Let's Go Racing Motorsports Report. Also, Libertyville Manor, if you're looking for a place to take your loved one, where family helps family to sleep well at night, check us out at Libertyville Manor. Of course, Lake County Hose and Equipment, Bill Fusting and his fine staff, great supporters of us here at the Let's Go Racing Motorsports Report. And if you'd like to get involved, info@216thenet.com. You can join our growing list of marketing partners that we have here, and we look forward to having more and more. We do want to start off the program with a little bit of a sad note, but an acknowledgement. Dean Billings, age 68, known affectionately as the Iron Man, passed away 1 week ago today. He was the 1986 and 87 Dairyland Midget Association champion, and he was also the 1986 Wilmot Midget champion. Dean was very, very involved with Ray Toth, the late promoter of Wilmot Raceway and Wilmot Speedway, in getting the Dairyland Midget Association going. They were basically an iron block midget. And it was just a great organization. It was a lot of fun. I announced their events. I think I announced every one of their events, whether it be on the road or at Wilmot. And Dean, always a smile, always great to see. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. And I understand August the 1st will be a celebration of life for Dean. And there's more information if you go to the Badger Kart Club, or not the Badger Kart Club, the Badger Midget page. And also we plan on getting some information out on the Wilmot Raceway website as well. So thoughts and prayers go out to Dean Billings. Giving you a quick update on the racing this last weekend at Wilmot Raceway. Well, on Friday night, it was the Californian who lapped all the way up to 9th place. Carson Macedo won his third outlaw feature, that is, in a row at Wilmot Raceway. Just did a great job picking up the victory in the Federated Auto Parts Larry Hillerud Memorial. And on Saturday night, it was Donnie Schatz, 10-time World of Outlaw champion, picking up the win. On Friday night in the wingless cars, it was Ryan Marshall scoring a clean sweep. Posted fast time, won the heat race, and won the feature event on Friday night. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had different ideas on Saturday. Just about after the conclusion of the victory interviews and that for the World of Outlaws, the skies opened up and it was a very nasty storm. We knew it was coming. Even before it came, the decision was made to not run the wingless event for safety of our drivers, for safety of our fans. And we hope everyone understands that. We do understand that all of the wingless drivers were paid equally and received equal points for both Wilmot Raceway's point standings for the Wingless Championship as well as the Wisconsin Wingless. So it was some great racing, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Joining me on the mic was John Gibson, who is the legendary voice for the last 28 years of the World of Outlaws. Also, Lauren Kelly was with me. Lauren is one of the voices of the Bumper to Bumper IRA Outlaw Sprint Cars, along with Chatty Matty, and they're going to be heading out west this week. They're going to Minnesota, I think, or maybe that's the following week, Minnesota. I think they're going to North Dakota this week. Check out the IRA website, or I'm sure Dave Olson's going to know. And speaking of Dave Olson, we're going to shift gears now, and we're going to talk to a photographer, a Hall of Fame photographer. We even got him a picture now.
I know, yeah. Well, listen, my mom always told me I had a face for radio, or behind the camera. So this is kind of weird. I'm not sure if there's a filter to make me look younger or what. I feel like this isn't helping the show, but here we are anyway. So.
Well, I'll tell you, yeah, it's always good to see you. It was good to see you at Wilmot. I know that you've been traveling with the IRA quite a bit the last few years, and then also hitting a lot of special events from time to time. And, just welcome to the program, and congratulations on being inducted last year in the class of 2023 for the Southeastern Wisconsin Short Track Racing Hall of Fame. The voting for that concluded last Friday, I think at midnight. The votes have been tabulated. It's my understanding the results are still secret, pending board approval next week. I think it's Tuesday. They have their board meeting. And we may have an announcement next Wednesday from 5-Star Race Car Bodies. We're working on getting the class of 2024 for the Southeastern Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame announced on next week's show right here. But congratulations, Dave. It's long overdue. And first of all, tell the folks a little bit about how you got started in racing and what you've been doing.
Well, listen, thanks for that. It was really cool that both you and I were inducted the same year, because we go back, really about the same time at Wilmot. So to build on that, I started 1976 before color film was invented. No, actually, that's not true. But, that was a long time ago. So I grew up in Hills Corners. I could actually see the track lights, Hills Corners Speedway, from my parents' house. I would ride my bike down there, and kind of got a interest in racing. But That's where it all started, Hales Corner Speedway. I took my dad's old realist camera the first night, and all the colors and man, everything. I was hooked right away. And I saw some photographers taking pictures, and then they were selling them in the grandstands, RPM Photo. And I would save up my allowance, and I'd buy photos from them. I still have some of them, actually. So then I'm like, well, boy, I'd like to get in the infield and take some photos. So I was in high school, 16 years old. I was a bit taller back then, so I didn't know how old you had to be to get into Hales Corners. So I stood in line at the pit shack. I got my pit pass, and I'm like, oh, I guess I'm in, And then a true story, I'm like, okay, now after qualifying, I'm going to go inside the infield. I got across, and I'm like, oh man, I'm in here. This is so cool. And two officials were walking towards me, and as luck would have it, my high school friend, Ron Neusen, his dad was a scorer for the Hales Corner Speedway, and he knew me. He looks at me and he goes, Dave, what are you doing in here? I'm like, I'm taking pictures. This is awesome. He goes, you can't be in here. You got to be 18 years old. I'm like, oh. So he gets on the radio and he calls Phil Hall, the editor of Midwest Racing News. And he goes, we got a situation here. So here comes Phil Hall. And he says, hey, what's your name? And he said, he pulled my pit pass and he said, you're too young to be in here. Come see me on your 18th birthday. And I did. I walked into his office August 11th, 1980. And I said, hey, I'm here for my press card. And I started as a photographer for Midwest Racing News. But since that day, when I was 16, I called around in Wilmot Speedway at a 16-year-old, age limit for the pit. So I spent the next 2 years virtually every Saturday at Wilmot and shooting photos and convincing Joan Toff that I was worthy of a pit pass, and that was an accomplishment in of itself. And but I was submitting pictures to Midwest Racing News from Wilmot, and then I started up at Slinger and Beaver Dam, and here I am. I think it's 48 years later. So 76 to 24, is that 48 years? I don't know, somewhere around there. I need a calculator, but that's how it all started. And since then, I've developed relationships with the United States Auto Club, World of Outlaws, and Wilmot. Just like all the other outlaw races, I'm a credentialed shooter, and some of the pictures you see on social media posts are some of mine. And same thing with the United States Auto Club. It's been fun, a long-term relationship with those sanctioning bodies, and it continues today.
And I understand too, because I've seen some of your photos and your information on Facebook, that you're getting lucky and you get to go to some of the year-end banquets too.
Yeah, I think the United States Auto Club, for one, in Indy, it's they have that the same weekend as the PRI show. So it's kind of fun to go down there and go through the show and see people and continue the relationships and then go and shoot the banquet at night. So that's been really fun to do that the last few years as well.
We just mentioned, the passing of Dean Billings. I'm sure somewhere in your archives you got some photos of Dean. Well,
yeah. So Dean Billings and Brian Gapinski, both of them, that I feel like they're in heaven now, going over old race notes and setup notes and having fun. They got a long history. See, Brian Gapinski he started out as a photographer, actually, and he kind of transformed into a car owner and then an announcer. And Dean Billings, from his rookie year in the late 70s, I've known them. So long history of Dean. Actually, I still have on my wall a plaque from Open Wheel magazine, and maybe you've seen that picture on social media of Dean kind of pulling a wheelie at Sun Prairie. It was a shot I took and submitted to Open Wheel, and they put it on the cover, and that's still hanging in the office. So a lot of good memories with Dean. Great guy. Racing, that's part of racing, right? We have some of those things that happen, but you know what? I photographed his daughter's wedding here a few years ago, and saw Dean there. And you know what? Hey, he's got now he's reminiscing with some old racers and friends up in heaven. So yeah, we'll miss him for sure.
Yeah, and it's my understanding. Actually, Jim Trado told me on at breakfast on Saturday morning when we were having the the Anderson's maple syrup breakfast there at Wilmot.
Mhm.
Dean's daughter, Stacy, and her husband were at Wilmot Friday night when I commemorated his passing and his accomplishments at Wilmot and with Dairyland. And Jim informed me of that on Saturday morning, and I was kind of glad that we did decide to do something on Friday night to remember him, because he was one of our track champs, and like I said, I mean, he and Ray Toff put that whole thing together to run the Dairyland series.
Sure.
It was the two of them that put their heads together and came up with Dairyland Midgets, and we were running them almost every Friday night. Hey, Sean, good to see you. Sean Sticks just checked in with us. Sean's been having some health issues, and we haven't seen him at the racetrack as much as we'd like, but hopefully he gets back out there real soon. And Dave, I do want to touch on you had a very moving and compelling story when you did your acceptance speech at the Hall of Fame. And a lot of folks don't know the backside or behind the scenes side of race car drivers, race car owners, crew members, and photographers. So tell the folks a little bit about how grateful you are that you're sitting here talking to me. Did you hear me? Or did I lose you? Or is he froze? Hey, help me, Kent. I think we might have lost him. We'll see if we can get Dave back, especially after that intro. I can explain to you a little bit about his background. He had some health issues and actually was in the hospital for somewhat of a long time, and obviously is doing much better now. Hopefully we can get him back. I do want to update you while we're doing that, trying to get reconnected with Dave. Do have the IRA schedule for this coming weekend. They're at Norman County Raceway on July 18th, River City Speedway on the 19th, and River Cities again on July the 20th. And that is out west. I think those tracks are pretty much in Minnesota, and then the other two I think are North Dakota. And then the following week they'll be running a little closer to home. I think they're at Dodge County on Friday, and then on Saturday I think they're at Plymouth. Are you back with us, Dave? Can you hear me? And
yeah, I can hear you. Sorry about that. It's I'm in an area where I'm surprised I got a signal, but yeah, I heard your question there. I tell you what, after all these years with the photography, I think starting out, you're meeting people, you're meeting racers and car owners, and then as years go on, you're starting to get that second generation, and I think that's part of the fun for me is to work through the pit area and see people that you haven't seen, and then now we're in the third generation. So that's how old I am and how long I've been doing this, where there's 3 generations of Biertzers, for instance, and there's so many now that that's the fun for me. Seeing guys like Dick Colburn, who was one of my heroes growing up, and now every time I see him, we talk fishing, and so that to me is one of the most fun things I get to do is go through the pits. I enjoy taking shots, candid shots, and family. There's a lot more stories than just on the racetrack, right? So it's fun for me to go through there and sneak some pictures in there, and then always look for a new angle or something new on the track or somewhere around the grounds, right? But I feel like the biggest change for me and how I look at things differently is my major stroke here 2.5 years. It changed everything. I'm fortunate that I'm still here, that I can do what I did, but things are significantly different. I went through rehab, I went through speech therapy. I had to learn how to do things over, but I can still do what I did. And I think what it has given me is an appreciation of, I treat each race like it's my last, right? I think we all can relate or have known somebody who has, suddenly, been taken from us, right? So we don't know when that last race or that last conversation with a racer or somebody at the track's going to be, or off the track, certainly. But it's given me an appreciation of each race I get to go to, and I do treat it as my last. It sounds cliche, but I work hard. I put in as many steps as I can and see as many people as I can and enjoy every lap. And if I get another race, awesome, I'll do that. So it has changed the way I look at things. I don't know if there's an exit strategy. 48 years, if I can make it to 50, I'm just looking at the next race, let alone another couple of years. But that's kind of what keeps me going, is the people, seeing you, every time we kind of reminisce and remember that time, back in the day. That's part of the fun, isn't it? Kind of thinking back to the simpler and the old days. That's how old we are. We all talk about our health issues and remember that time back in the day, So that's what keeps me going. I still enjoy it, and I'm fortunate I get to do what I did.
And I think what we'll do is we'll kind of wrap it up with that somewhat. But I'm going to toss out this story. The first time that you asked me to ride in the back of the pace truck to shoot the 4-wide parade lap, and you had not done it before for anyone, anywhere, I don't think. And you asked me at Wilmot, Is it okay? I said, sure. Well, you had no knee pads. You had nothing. There was nothing back there. It was you, the bed of the truck, and that was it. Yeah. And you made it and got some decent shots. That everything wasn't shaken, but you did say that you were never going to do that again without knee pads.
Well, I feel like I saw the grin on your face in the mirror, and I feel like you were gassing it a little bit more than normal. At the same time, I don't know if people realize this, but I haven't met anybody at the track that does the announcing on his mic while he's driving around the track. He's like, the dude's like a multitasker, and then he's announcing from the infield, calling cars off on memory. I don't know how you do it, and it's certainly Hall of Fame worthy. That's why you're in there, buddy. But yeah, a lot of good memories. I tell you what, this is kind of a thrill for me. I'll have to send this to my mom because, like I said, I don't get a chance to be in front of the camera much, right? I'm always hiding my face. And when I was on the Racing Roundup show with Jim Trado, I did the same thing. I'm like, I had the headphones on. I'm like, I got a list of questions. I was playing the interview guy because I never get to do it, right? So I kind of caught Jim off guard there. But it certainly is fun. What you're doing there. I think it's great. I'm excited for you, and I really appreciate being on today. So.
Well, and we are still going to go fishing one of these days. We're going to work that out. I definitely want to do that with you, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. And we can tell a lot of stories. We may not catch a lot of fish, but we're going to have a lot of stories. I can guarantee you.
See, that's you get it. You get it. That's what fishing is. That's what racing is. It's all about the experience. It may not be counting the fish in the net, or for racers, it might not be how many wins you have. But I tell you what, I'm going to have the most fun of anybody. I don't know how many races I got left or fishing trips, but we'll definitely do that, buddy, for sure.
Sounds good. Well, I always let the drivers get a plug in for their sponsors. So now is your time to plug for your fish guiding service and your photography. Tell folks how to get in touch with you.
Sure. Well, I have a studio in Pewaukee called Studio 360. I've been there for 13 years. I was working out of my house for the previous, 30 or so. But yeah, we do a lot of different stuff, commercial stuff, family stuff, high school kids, and so on. But that's in Pewaukee. Just remember 360 and a purple 360. I took the race car branding into my business, right? So people they know the 360 number and the purple color. And then the fishing I do seasonally in the spring and in the fall up in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, out of Waukee Walleye Guide Service. We do muskie trips, walleye, smallmouth bass. So like I said, I got myself involved in a lot of different things. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm not going to die with any money, but I'll certainly have the most stories, right? So
there you go. Well, it's always great to see you, Dave. Great to do this with you. And I'm glad we got this worked out technically too, so that we could see you and hear you and everything else. So you have a great time. Oh, where are you going this weekend? I mean, I know I got a weekend off. I'm actually going to a family reunion in Adams Friendship, Wisconsin. But where are you headed?
So tonight I'm up in Green Bay. We're just about ready to step into a concert by Creed. You remember the band Creed? They're on tour now, but I've got a full day at the studio Friday. Saturday, I leave for Ontario, Canada for a week's worth of fishing. I'm going to do some photos and videos up there. And with about 10 guys, we do that every year. And then when I get back, we'll get right back into the IRA, USAC, and World of Outlaw schedule. So that's the schedule, buddy. So we'll see you at the racetrack. I'm sure we'll see some of your updates online. I'll try to update mine as well on Facebook. So.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a lot, Dave. Take care, buddy.
God
bless.
All right, Mike. All right, buddy.
That was Dave Olson, Hall of Fame inductee with the class of 2023, Southeastern Wisconsin Short Track Racing Hall of Fame, that I was fortunate enough also to be inducted in that class. So now I think we're shifting gears to a couple more announcers. We're going to have a lot of announcers on tonight, a lot of higher. I know, I'm just kidding. We're going to have Mark and Mike, I think, are joining us from Great Lakes Dragaway, and maybe John. I'm not sure if John's here too, or
yeah.
Oh, John's here too,
Yep.
And we got the Three Stooges. What?
Yeah, you're right.
Wait a minute, John. What happened? I mean, we got two guys with beards, one guy with long hair and a beard, and one guy with no hair.
Yeah. I have my hat on, and I got the nice LED lights. Get a nice reflection off there. I gave it a nice shave today, so it's got a little extra sheen to it. Yeah.
Well, welcome all three of you. All three of you very much involved at Great Lakes Dragaway, and we were talking off mic earlier with Mike and with Mark. You guys and Randy and the entire crew at Great Lakes Dragaway need to be commended on the program you put out on the Night of Fire. I had not been up there for a race for a long time. And Kathy, it was her first time ever seeing the Rockets. I had seen them before, but she had never seen them before. And it was just a great, great show, an awesome night. And what really impressed me, John, was the racers interacting with the crowd as they came back on the return lane. I mean, that is what it's all about. I turned to Kathy when I saw it. I mean, we had groups that were stopping, throwing T-shirts, handing out hero cards. I mean, that is what it's all about. And do it when the kids are still awake, not after the races are over and everybody's ready to go have a beverage or a piece of pizza and the kids are getting carried to the car because they're sound asleep. Do it when they're awake. And you guys get it. And I'm hoping, without pointing fingers, and I may get yelled at by some of my circle track folks that I work for and announce for, but I've been around this a long time, and you guys get it. And I commend you guys for the job you do. You're going to get those stands filled again, just like they were filled on July, whatever date that was, 2nd or 5th, 6th, whatever.
That's the great thing about Great Lakes Dragaway. Like I said before, I raced at a lot of different tracks, but having that return road right in front of the grandstand so everybody can get up close and personal and see the drivers and see the cars and interact with the crowd, that's a great thing. I wish more drag strips were like that. There's some of them like that, but a lot of them will have the return road on the other side of this track. You don't even get, unless if you want to see the cars, you have to go in the pits to see them. But it's pretty neat. That was a good turnout too. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a great turnout, and now you got the two guys that I don't know how many hours you guys worked that day. I know it had to be a lot, and Mike and I were joking about this too earlier, that when you have an announcer school, whether it be at a technical school or college or whatever, the first chapter should be entitled Fill, F-I-L-L. What you do to fill, because things happen. I don't care if it's a circle track. I don't care if it's an asphalt track. I don't care if it's a drag strip. Things happen, and you've got to fill. Mike, Mark, any comments on that? And now I've got to fill. Where are you? Are you guys
here?
There we are. Okay, I can hear Mark. Yeah. Mike, you there? There's Mike muted.
He's in deep concentration.
I guess.
I can hear you, Mark. Yeah.
Mark, go ahead and you can
hear
comment.
me. It looks like Mark might freeze there.
That's it.
Yeah, I think Mike
The
is
question
froze.
kind of broke up a little bit, Mike, but yeah, we had a fantastic crowd for the Night of Fire. We had a great audience, of course, and like you said, our racers that interact with the crowd, that plays a huge part. It influences the kids, makes it worth a trip out there. You're not just a spectator, you can be interactive right with the racers, and whether that be getting a hero card signed or getting an autograph, are all about that, and we got a lot of great groups. Obviously John's with the Bruce City Gassers, and they play a huge role in entertaining the fans with a wide variety of their gasser cars, of course. And they're not just a group that puts on shows there. They work hand in hand with the owners of Great Lakes Dragway to do things like painting the starting line, putting together a big show. And it looks like you lost me.
Nope, we got you. You're good.
Am I back?
Yep, you're there. You're still with us. So, well, let's go over to your cohort over here, to Mark. You guys do work great together. And Mark, your comments.
Well, you want to know more about how we fill in for situations? That just, I've been working there for over 20 years, and you pick that up as things happen. But we're there to help entertain and educate and enlighten. That's what we do, and trying to get that information across to the fans when there's downtime. You get to talk about the cars and the racers and the different groups, and it helps the fans connect with the racers in a different way. And then they can go back and walk around in the pits and talk to the racers. As they come down the return road, they get to see them, and they get to put a face with the car. And it's awesome, And if you're driving, you get to hear all those cheers, and that there's a crowd there, and they appreciate what you're doing. And one thing that I learned a long time ago also is I try and announce for every racer that goes down the track, because, like everybody else, they put a lot of time and effort into their vehicles and what they do. And, everybody wants to hear their name over the PA. So that's what we do. But it lets people know who these guys are. It gives each car a name and a personality.
Right. Well, and I was taught that a long time ago by Jack Biddison, Jack at Trackside, who's also in the Hall of Fame, but has unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And when I first started announcing at Wilmot, Jack came up to me and he says, "I'm going to tell you one thing. First of all, you're not going to compete with the cars. I mean, you guys, it's a little different. They're just going straight down the track for some of them 5 seconds and they're done." With us, it's lap after lap, sometimes a 20, 25 lap. The World of Outlaw features were 40 laps this last weekend. So, but you're not going to compete with the sounds of those cars. I did have a guy that used to do video work for us at Wilmot, and he said, "Mike, I need you to talk when the cars are racing, because you're my play-by-play. And if I don't have you talking about the race going on, all I've got is engine noise." And so I started calling a few more races then, because he asked me to. Jack told me, when the yellow comes out, or when there's a red, or there's a stoppage in the racing action, that's when an announcer goes to work. You've got to fill that time. You've got to keep the people entertained, like Mike said. And, that Jack said it, and also did the late Hugh Deary said it at a promoter's workshop. We're not necessarily in the racing business. We're in the entertainment business. People are coming to Great Lakes Dragway, Wilmot Raceway, the streets of Chicago when they did the race a couple weeks ago. They came there to be entertained. a lot of those people had never seen a race or a race car before. And that's what it's all about. I mean, we have the passion for racing. We get it. We love it. You know, we would be there even if they didn't pay us. And sometimes I think we are there when they're not paying us. but that's because we love it, you know, and we do extra things. John brought his car out to the Culvers about a month ago. We're going to have another show coming up July 27th at Hartnell Chevrolet from 11 till in the morning till 2. It's open to any kind of race cars. You know, yeah, I work at Wilmot, but obviously I've got a connection with you guys at Great Lakes too. And we want that connection to grow. You know, we can work together. I'd still love to one night, and like maybe we can work it out. If it's not this year, we do it next year. We have the guys from Wilmot come out and race drag racing. Whether they, you know, some of our bandits have even said they could probably do that. Our 4 cylinders could probably still run on the quarter mile, just like they are on our track. You know, and speaking of the bandits, they've been added to July 27th.
Where are they going to turn at, though, Mike? I don't know. There's only one turn down there.
That's true. They're used to making left turns, you know, and that could be a little tricky for them. But
There's a left.
That's right.
Yeah,
it is funny.
It's a left turn, so they'll be okay.
Yeah, and it is funny because some of the drivers that I have at Wilmot started out in drag racing. You know, Billy Fusting used to work at Waukegan Speedway with me. And then he drove a hobby stock for a while, and his son raced with us at Wilmot in a lightning sprint. You know, so there's definitely connections there. John, you as a driver, now Mike just mentioned and Mark just mentioned too that you guys, at least on the return lane, get to hear the crowd, you get to hear the announcers talk about you. Obviously you don't hear much when you're racing. How much do you hear even when you're on the approach, when you're getting up there, you're getting ready to get into the tree and you're getting ready to go? Can you hear them at all, or?
No, nothing at all. You know, and I often talk to a few people about that have been in the stands, and they're like, oh yeah, I mean, a lot of people are, you know, cheering and all that. You know, I might do a long burnout. I kind of we'll do that along with my buddy Skip. You know, if you start doing a good burnout, one guy told me it's like getting a surfer getting on a good wave. You get on, you don't want to get off of it. You have a good burnout going and do a pretty good one. But they say, oh, they really love that. And I don't know that. You know, I don't know. I wouldn't know the difference if everybody got up and left when I'm going up there. You know, and plus I switch to exhaust in my car and put some zoomies on there, and you know, it's a lot louder than it was before, but you don't really get the feel of it in the car. You don't really know what's going on as far as what the crowd reaction is. You know, you'll see them on the return road giving you a thumbs up and clap and all that stuff. That's pretty cool. But as far as when you're going down the track, yeah, don't really know what's happening. Yeah.
And I'm going to give this question to Mike and Mark. How did each of you get started in racing? Now, John, I already talked to him about that a few shows ago. But how did you guys get involved in racing and get involved in announcing? And you can flip a coin as to who goes first.
Well, I'll jump it. I'll take it. I grew up next to the Milwaukee Mile and watched a bunch of racing when I was a young, you know, USAC and stuff like that. Found drag racing as a teenager and thought it was the coolest thing ever. And always wanted to be involved with it somehow. I always have old cars, but nothing I have ever running, as Mike knows. But I started doing a radio show in Milwaukee, and it's a nonprofit for the Milwaukee School of Engineering. And I took it upon myself to visit the folks at Great Lakes Dragaway at the World of Wheels show one year. And, we were trying to get some tickets to give away on our station as a nonprofit. And I talked to Dave Hohenstein, and he's like, well, what are you doing? You know, I said, I'm a DJ, man. I play music. He's like, you like drag racing? Man, you want to announce a race? Like, yeah, dude, sign me up. And that was over winter. I went in I think March or April. My training consisted of there's the tower, there's the PA system, the microphones on the counter, and that's basically how we got started doing been doing it ever since.
Well, you do a great job with it, and before we get too far along, give a plug for your show that you have, where folks can tune in, and what day it's on, and all that good stuff.
It's WMSC Radio, 91.7 FM in Milwaukee, www.wmsc.org. My particular show is on Saturday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Like I said, I've been doing that since 2000. It's been a long time. I do a lot of old, weird local music, old rod music, music about cars. My bed music is the sound of the 64 Lincoln Nationals sound effects behind me. So it's like I'm working at the racetrack. It's fun.
There you go.
I interview racers. A lot of people on the show throughout the years, and we have a lot of fun with it.
Awesome. Okay, Mike, it's your turn.
Yeah, my dream is to be on Mark's radio show, but he's never invited me ever. I mean, it's.
I see how it is, man.
All to himself. He says, no.
See, Mike, and I meet you once, and I invite you on my podcast.
Yeah,
maybe you ought to leave Mark and come up and work with me at Wilmot.
My start racing was basically.
I know where he lives.
Are you still there, Mike?
Yeah.
Or did we lose you?
You ain't coming down here. This is Illinois. There's a whole different set of driving rules down here, so you just stay there. My racing world began in 1976, I believe, when a little movie came out that I got dragged to, or dragged my neighbors to. I went with a friend of mine and his dad to see a movie called Funny Car Summer, and I must have dreamed about that movie for years. Everything from the bicycle fire burnouts to Mike Dunn putting parachutes on the back of his bike in the shopping mall, to, of course, the sights and sounds of funny cars. Small trailer, and was just driving it all over the country. As a kid, I caught the bug then. I began to draw funny cars, and it was all over my homework papers and whatnot. But my family wasn't into any kind of racing like that. My dad was kind of a fool guy, and he still is, but never really raced or anything like that. And I actually was able to buy a Dodge Challenger, an old 70 model, and it had a big hot engine in it and stuff. And I started to put nitrous on that thing, and we'd actually drive it to the track from the western suburbs of Chicago. And we were passionate about it. And I loved it for the adrenaline rush, for just how cool it was. Everything about Great Lakes Dragway, from the minute you get Randy Clare, and Marcel, that's the idea. They wanted a racer to feel welcome and to be able to, set personal records and personal goals and do well. But once I got that car, I started going faster, and then the adrenaline was just amplified all the more. And we started to we had an event at Great Lakes Dragway a while back called RSD, Real Street Drags, and we had events on Thursdays and Friday nights. It was very, very popular. A radio show, before podcasts, before Facebook. This was a real weird time with the internet, and we hosted a radio show when I got to actually type in and interact with the people that were talking with our radio host, which included Brian Mitchell, Mark Magnuson, Mark Mueller. Eventually, they invited me to actually, share my opinions and voice in, and Trent Eckhart was a key role in there too.
I see the
I
mouth.
got introduced to Mark, of course, and I've got to work with him for years, and we just have a blast up there. We are we are racers at heart, and yet we are two of the biggest fans you'll ever find in that place.
There you go. There you go. Well, we just got a few more minutes, and then I'm actually going to bring in another guy in, and you guys are certainly welcome to. Actually, if you guys want to stick around, you can. And then if you got questions for Roger, that'll be fine. I've got Roger Miller, and he and I, when I first started announcing, he and I did a lot of announcing together. And he went on to not only be an announcer, he went on to be a starter, a race director. He's done a little bit of everything in racing, and he was also inducted into the Hall of Fame up there in southeastern Wisconsin. We need to work on, and maybe Roger can help us since he's on the committee. I think, first of all, Broadway Bob belongs in the southeastern Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame. I know they call it Short Track Hall of Fame, but he belongs there. And I'm sure we could probably open a whole section just with the drag racers that belong there. I mean, you've got drag racing that goes on at WIR. You have drag racing that used to go on at Lake Geneva before it closed. There's a lot of other tracks that, oval tracks that have drag racing with them. So we need to work on that, and I can do what little I can do. But when Roger comes on, Roger actually is on the board of the Hall of Fame, and so maybe he can put a bug in somebody's ear. And again, if you guys need to go, I understand that. If you want to stick around when Roger comes in here, that's fine. But I am going to go over to John, because I know John likes to work on his car on Wednesday nights. I know what Wednesday night is, John. You got me trained good. It's ladies' night out at Great Lakes Dragway. And so the ladies, are out there racing against the guys, and ladies get in free, and they get to race for free. See, I got it down, John.
Yeah, you do. Absolutely.
So, even if you're tuned in right now to us, you can go out to Great Lakes Dragway and watch some racing. And if you're a lady, you can go out there and race. You can go and race against your husband. Whatever, you can have a good time. But what else do you have coming up, particularly this weekend? It's an off weekend for Wilmot. We're not racing at all this weekend. We'll be back racing on the 27th of July, and then the 29th of July on a Monday. We have the World of Outlaw late models coming into Wilmot for the very first time. That's going to be a huge event that Monday night. And I know you guys don't race on Monday nights, so maybe y'all can come down and join us on that Monday, July 29th. It's going to be a big show at Wilmot. So, But John, tell us what's happening at Great Lakes.
Well, this Saturday we have the Chi-Town Show and Go. That's the cars. I don't know, like they call them like the donks, the ones with the huge wheels on it and stuff. And that's usually a really good turnout. I mean, they pack the place, and there's some really, really neat looking cars there that have a ton of money invested in them. I mean, the paint jobs and the chroming and the wheels, it's just over the top. That's something that's pretty cool. And something a little different, and it comes there once a year, but it's pretty neat to see, that's something going on. And then also on the 26th, we've got Beat the Heat again for the high school kids that want to come out and race against a police officer on that Friday. And then that Saturday and Sunday, we have the AMC Mopar Fest 27th, 28th. So that's going to be going on with the AMC cars and the Mopars. The focus is going to be on those and doing a money race and a bracket race and a trophy race. So that's going to be a good time too.
Don't forget there's a swap also for that Mopar event.
Yeah. Also, good swap meet also during the AMC Chrysler show, which is good.
Well, and I guess I got to ask this question. If I've got, we just lost one. If I had two of the announcers here from Great Lakes Dragway, and there's racing going on tonight, who's talking?
Yeah, good question.
I'm about 150 miles north of Milwaukee right now. I'm in Adams Friendship.
Are you really?
My mom's place is up here, and I'm cutting the grass and taking care of the place this week.
Well, we're going to be at Cabins on the Lake, and my wife and I will be there tomorrow. In about 24 hours, we'll be there.
Nice. Yeah, I'm right outside of Hancock. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool. John, you have any idea who's announcing? Obviously, it's not you.
I don't know who's going to be announcing out there tonight. Maybe they got Sarah announcing or something. Yeah.
Slick Vic's probably on the microphone.
Yeah. And then Mark maybe knows, are the women ahead now so far with the bracket race? I know they were kind of up and up between the guys, and I think maybe the women are kind of went ahead of the guys here as far as the Battle of the Sexes race.
The guys are ahead. I believe it's 6-5 now, and the guys were winning at least last week. Not sure about tonight, but
sure.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty good air tonight. It's cool, and there's some good air tonight, so the cars should be going
gorgeous.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, again, I appreciate both of you guys coming on. It was a lot of fun, Mark, hearing you up there at Great Lakes the night of fire. I'm hoping to get up there for another event or two before the season ends. And also, again, thank you as well, John, for all your help in that. And we might come out and do a show from Great Lakes yet, now that we know where the Wi-Fi is.
Yeah, right.
We know how far we have to go with the Wi-Fi. So that
Sure.
all worked out. So that was great.
Sure.
Again, Mark, thank you much. John, thank you much. God bless you guys, and enjoy the races.
Will do. Thanks, Mike. Yep. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep, sounds good. We'll see you. And that was John and Mark and Mike and from Great Lakes Dragaway. And now coming in is my good buddy, Roger the Mouth Miller. And he's up there in Sheboygan in his man cave, it looks like. Yep. Roger, welcome to the program. I mean, we had your son on a few weeks ago talking about what was happening at Road America. And
you mean Mini?
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming on. Tonight, kind of a short notice, we had somebody that had to cancel at the last minute, but we're hoping to get them on next week. Roger, you and I go way back. I mean, I started
way
announcing
back, probably
to in 80.
Mid 70s, early 80s. Yeah, absolutely. Wilmot, Hales Corners, all the World of Outlaw shows for Ted Johnson, and the infamous first 100 lap indoor midget show at the Mecca Arena.
That's right, the indoor show at Mecca that got our voices, or at least your voice, on the opening of the Daytona 500 that year.
I don't remember that. You remember that, maybe because you were mad at me, but I don't remember that.
No, they actually, because they had footage of Schrader, and in the background you could hear you calling the race. And I mean, obviously they were talking about Schrader racing at short track in the wintertime and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, your voice got on the Daytona 500. They didn't send you the royalty?
I don't believe so. And I still don't remember it, but I'm glad you remember it for me.
There we go. So one of the things that we had hoped to do tonight was talk a little bit about the Southeastern Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame, which you and I are both fortunate enough to have been inducted. Dave Olson, that was just on, has been fortunate enough to be inducted. We are, and I am very serious though. I think the hall needs to take a look at either having a different, and maybe that's going to be the case. Maybe we need to get a different wing, a different whatever, for the drag racers in Wisconsin, because there's a lot of them. There's a lot of tracks that run drag racing. La Crosse has a drag racing strip. WIR has one. Lake Geneva had one, and obviously Great Lakes Dragaway is known throughout the world in the drag racing world. And do you think that's something that we could possibly at least approach the powers that be about considering?
Well, Mike, I'm only one person on the board, but if you take a look at our nomination forms, it is clearly stated what tracks are included in our Hall of Fame, including ghost tracks that are no longer operating, something like Hales Corners and so forth. It's going to have to take, quite a bit to change that direction that was set by our so-called forefathers of the Hall of Fame. I've only been on the board, I think, for 4 or 5 years now, but we've revamped that sheet. Dick Carth and I, another board member, revamped that sheet, looking at different tracks. You mentioned La Crosse and WIR. That would definitely not be in our dominant of influence at all, because the area that we have is set forth in that nomination form. So things would have to totally change to include drag. We don't even include Sun Prairie because they have their own Hall of Fame for the midget drivers. So we've never inducted, or some people have nominated, I'm sure, drivers from Badger midgets, but it's not one of our criteria of getting into the Hall of Fame in Hartford.
Yeah, so well, maybe I can approach Randy and the current owners at Great Lakes, and maybe they start their own Hall of Fame or a drag racing Hall of Fame for Wisconsin.
Well, just like exactly what Badger midgets do, they have their own Hall of Fame right there in Sun Prairie, right? Exactly.
Right, and
that's a great idea, Mike. And maybe right now I should just make a nomination that you become president of that Hall of Fame.
There's nobody to second, so it dies for lack of a second.
I can get my wife down here to second it if she wants.
Well, let's talk.
I'm sure the other three gentlemen you had on, I'm sure one of those would second that motion if they were still there.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, there he's shaking his head.
Mark's back.
There you go, Mark. Second the motion, Mark. Second the motion. There you go, Mike.
Well, and actually, Roger, Mark, I think you probably heard him when we were talking earlier. Mark does have some oval track experience as well, and as a fan, because he grew up by the Milwaukee Mile and also went to Hill Corners. So we do have.
I did some work at the mile years and years ago with racing on the infield, and I did that I think 2 years in a row. It was fun.
In the road course that's there?
Yeah, long time ago. That was probably 15 years ago now.
My son did some racing there too in go-karts when Badger Kart Club had an event there many years ago.
That was a lot of fun. I called the race and I was DJing in the infield. It was fun.
Nice.
That's a lot of fun.
I had an opportunity, Mike. So I had an opportunity. I went to Plymouth on Saturday. They had their induction ceremony for their Wall of Fame, and I went there because of my good friend Bill Krieger. A lot of my friends got inducted, but Bill Krieger's been a long time friend. He was flagging at Plymouth before I started announcing in '76. Bill and I had our tension moments together. When I was announcing, he was flagging, but then later on, after I became the flagman there, I got him out of retirement to be my assistant, and so I went there to enjoy Bill's night getting inducted. It was a fun time.
Yeah,
except for the thunder and lightning that came 15 minutes later.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what happened to us down at Wilmot. I mean, we got they did change the order of events, which rightfully so. I mean, the World of Outlaws are the headliner. They're the travelers. They're not going to be back this year. So they moved their feet up and got it in about 5 minutes before the skies opened up. It what it is. I mean, we've all been right, Mark. I'm sure you've had a big event or had a race that ended. I think race announcers are some of the best weather forecasters in the business. They should pay us like they pay the big people on television, because I think we do a better job of predicting it than they do sometimes.
It's the only job that you'd be wrong 60% of the time and still take home a full paycheck.
Right.
Weathercaster on TV.
That's for sure. Well, we just talked to Mark, and he's had some experience in oval track. Roger, have you had any experience at a drag strip?
One time at Great Lakes Ragway, Bob called me up. I think I was working for you. I think you were supposed to work and couldn't make it. I went down there and did, I would think, probably 2 hours worth of work. And Bob and I had an agreement that he did not need to pay me to be there for what he had going on there that day. So I walked away, just glad that I could do a couple hours down there, and came back home. But that's to my extent of drag racing.
Well, we could get you down there again, I think, Raj. I think Mark could make that happen. So
I think with my shooting schedule, I have very limited time now because I've taken up a new hobby. Instead of announcing or flagging, I'm now trap shooting. So I'm shooting a lot of tournaments. And
you're doing quite well, from what I understand.
Yeah, first time ever, I bought a brand new gun. Paid way too much for it. Don't tell Trisha, but I have been shooting very well with this. If I give a plug for Browning Satori, I will right now. So
there you go. Your thoughts now when Eric expressed an interest in announcing, and your son decided to race. Robbie decided to do some racing.
Right.
what was Dad thinking when all this was happening? Was Dad thinking, how am I going to continue my career, their careers coming into play?
Well, I kind of ended announcing at Plymouth simply for that reason, because we wanted to do some more national events and stuff like that. And we were traveling. We were racing not only at Road America's go-kart track, but we're also racing at Dousman every Sunday. And for us, that meant leaving at 5:30 in the morning on Sunday, being there all day, and then not getting home until 7:30, 8 o'clock at night on a Sunday. So it took a lot of time. But I was self-employed at that time. So, I mean, I could give up the extra time when I needed to work on the karts and stuff. But Robbie did very well. I don't know if you could see, but all the trophies behind me on the floor they're all Robbie's, and he's a 7-time champion.
There you go. Well, apparently you taught him well and were a good crew chief.
I didn't teach him anything. That kid, he was a natural shoe. I got to tell you the story. You probably know this story. You were probably here because Mike is a godfather of one of my children. But we had a birthday party for Robbie when he was 3, and I got him one of these battery-operated cars. It was a Cartoon Network car. It was, the car had NASCAR decals, looked like a NASCAR. And we had his birthday party. It started raining, so we opened up the garage door, took the cars out, and you know how the water drips off the garage door a little bit. Anyway, he was running in the circle in the car, going the correct way. And my brother-in-law, Trisha's brother, Tim, decided when he went around by him, he gave the car, the back end, a kick, and he kicked the side of the car so it would go sideways. Robbie just instantly turned to the left, steered out of it, stayed on the gas, went back going straight again. And I looked at Tim, he says, "Did you just see that?" He says, "I can't believe that." Neither did Trisha. So he did it again, and he did the same thing. So I knew right there I had a racer coming up,
Well, that's for sure. So, believe it or not, with all the hot air we had on the program tonight, all the announcers and a photographer and everything else, we're out of time. Roger,
Wow.
I'm going to get you back because you and I could probably do a show and a half all by yourselves. Not that you couldn't too, Mark, but with all the races we called over the years and all the fun we had on and off the mic, I think
absolutely.
We could fill an hour or 2 or 3. So that's actually going to wrap it up for this week. Roger, thank you very, very much for all you do with the Southeastern Wisconsin Short Track Hall of Fame. And we'll be looking forward to the announcement sometime next week of the class of 2024. The voting is over, but the 2024 class will be announced after the board meeting, which I heard is Tuesday. I think
next week, Tuesday, correct?
Yeah. So possibly next Wednesday, maybe I can get you on again, and you can give the results and tell us who's going to be inducted in November. Mark, thank you very much, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you at Great Lakes soon, or on your radio show on Saturday mornings. So, gentlemen, until we see you next time, this is Mike Babicz wishing you a pleasant evening, the best of tomorrows. Remember, kids, just say no to drugs. Thanks. Good night. God bless everybody. And if you guys are all still on mic, let's go racing. Oh, go
remember,
ahead,
race car spelled backwards is still race car, like Eric says.
Good night, guys. God bless.
Good night. Thanks, Mike.